it looks like I was mostly wrong, but honestly, I'm alright with that. Let's talk about it. Hey there, this is your Matt, Thomas Hands, here with another video, and today I'll talk about My Registered Man, Season 3, Episode 9. We are basically done with this show. We only got one episode left. And has this season been incredible? I could come here and say that it was, but honestly, no. There is a lot of stuff that I didn't like, and I think a lot of people didn't. But they have also done a lot of good. So I go back and forth on whether I personally am enjoying this specific season, because some of the changes they make to certain characters are really good, and some of them are not, at least to me. But we're not done with this show. We got this one and the last one left, and let's see how they change my mind. But before I continue with this video and every other video I talk about this show will contain spoilers to the entirety of it, because I talk about them episode by episode. But if you have watched the show and don't care about spoilers, let's continue with everything I have to say. So it looks like this episode came to prove me wrong as quickly as possible, because as soon as we start this episode, it shows Clark being alive. Yeah, that was all my bad. I genuinely thought he was gonna die from Bizarro's clock on the noggin, because Bizarro, even though he's not as strong as Superman, is still very strong, and at this point, Clark is very human. So I thought that would be the end of him, and there would be some time travel shenanigans. But it doesn't really look like they did any of that in this episode. But I am very intrigued on what they do here, because it looks like the Superman robots that mind control Bizarro are also Brainiac. But they say they're not the Brainiac that we knew in the last season, which I have to say kind of BS, because they kind of act like that. Because they basically said they were the Brainiacs from when Krypton was a conquering race, which I have to say, I am still very much not a fan of the change to this version of Superman, that his entire planet was an alien conquering race, just like the Saiyans were in Dragon Ball Z. I do like when this show references other animes, but when they push too much, I feel like you're pushing away the main thing. Like you're pushing away the Superman lore for putting other animes in first. And maybe that's just a me thing. Maybe I just want to see more Superman in a Superman show. And maybe I'm just more frustrated because of the new Superman making Clark's parents actually kind of evil, and I don't like that either. I prefer when Krypton and its people is basically just Earth, but ultra advanced, and that's about it. I don't like it when they try to make it like, oh, these are also superpowered beings. That was the point of the Red Sun. The Red Sun basically turns Kryptonians into just people, into regular human beings. And I like that, because then it showed when Krypton did get destroyed, it was the people's fault, not just an individual basis. But hey, that's just me. I am a fan of what they did with Clark, though, here. Because the Brainiacs basically said, if Clark wants to get his powers back, he has to go through a simulation that is of his ancestors when he conquered this alien species. But I did like how Clark just kept saying, this is not strength, this is not power. And I love that that is Clark's mentality through the entirety of the episode. And honestly, I also liked his gladiator type outfit. I wish it was more inspired by the one from when Superman went to a planet with a red sun and had to fight people with that Superman logo on his chest, and then Lois turned into something else later on. But hey, that's just me. And since we're already talking about fits, can we talk about what they put Bizarro in? They basically gave him the suit that Superman wore after he came back from the dead, which is very interesting. It doesn't seem like there is a significant reason for him to wear it, because he was just there in the background. But I'm also still kind of confused on what his deal is, because this Brainiac kept saying that this is what Bizarro was meant to be. But I thought he was supposed to be an experiment from somewhere else. I didn't think that he was part of the Brainiac's plan. I feel like they just added him just to be here, because it didn't seem like Bizarro was here for any other reason than just to knock Clark out and then wear that fit. But what do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. But before we go more into that, we go right back to where I thought Kara had died. Looks like I was wrong too, because Jimmy had said that no, she's actually still breathing. So again, another thing I was wrong about, but honestly, I am glad, because that would have been really frustrating. And now that I try to think about if they try to do a time travel scenario, that would have been kind of annoying. So I am glad they didn't go that route. And something I found really interesting is how Amanda Waller is willing to work with the future Kryptonians. Which, honestly, Amanda Waller, you can say so much about her, but she does want to protect the planet, even if it can be really bad. So it is cool that she is trying to work with them, even though she's trying to make them a soldier. But I do like that Lois is like, no, they are not soldiers. They are basically kids. And I love that Lois went from being very hesitant about having kids, barely even one, to being going all mama mode with having 2 kids now. I think it also comes with the fact that she does not want to be the military Lois Lane, which that's good. But she's not perfect. At least she won't be later on, because John is being all moody about everything going on and he feels nothing goes his way and everything's bad and he's like the bad child. Like he's that moody, which is interesting. And I did like that Lois had to be a little more blunt with him because of that fact, because he was diminishing Lois's help in any turn. And speaking with how moody he is, I did get a comment saying that this John felt like the John from Young Justice, where he had the black shirt with the red Superman logo on. And honestly, that made me think, this is honestly a cool way of bringing in the classic Jonathan, you know, with the jacket, the attitude, you know, feeling very like nice, but also very arrogant, then to this more like rough and gritty military type version of him together. Honestly, that was really cool, getting to be able to have the 2 sides of John. And then adding Laura here, which is cool because again, we don't get anything of her. In most cases, is just John. So it is nice to getting the 2 kids. And something that I feel is very nice as well is that we finally got to see a heart-to-heart with Laura and Lois. And to see how similar Lois is at this point is to the future version, but not in a negative way, of it, you know, in a positive way, you know, trying to give her kid a good message, which it turns out that the future one already gave her, as well as a compass, which is honestly kind of cute. And then we go over to Kara finally waking up from her coma, which I like. I am glad I was not right about her being dead. And we also get to see that Jimmy finally got his foot out of his ass, and then he is trying to actually be there for Kara, and he is not even trying to shy away from it. He is all in, as we see him hug her, how we see him be cute, and it's really cute how Kara is blushing in this. And something I wanted to mention is I really like how they portray Kara in this show. Because she was raised by Brainiac, she's obviously kind of naive about a lot of stuff, but that doesn't make her like, you know, really innocent or anything like that. She is a warrior. She knows how to fight. She knows when to be serious, but she can also be very sweet and very kind and still have her own things going on, like, you know, wanting to learn other human stuff, like with Cash and liking that stuff, and wanting to be there for the future kids, which is honestly really sweet. But again, I am glad that Jimmy is finally showing his feelings, but I'm not cheering and saying they finally get a win, because I did that for the last episode and they still didn't resolve it. So I don't know if I have as much faith of them just like hurrying it up as quickly, not even for the last episode. But what do you think? Do you think they're going to finally get together by the last episode? Please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Then we go back to Clark being a gladiator again and seeing how he is trying to survive through this wasteland, and then these people attacking him. And then we get to see when he gets angry, the red electricity comes out of him, which honestly, that kind of confuses me, because we saw Clark have that when he had his powers, but it was blue. And even in the second season, he had it, but it was more of an aura around him. So is there like a difference between the auras he has? Does blue mean like him being kind and, you know, protective, and that's what the blue electricity is, while the red is just rage and anger? Because that would be interesting. And are they gonna acknowledge any of that, or are they just did they kind of just forget that he had the blue electricity? I'm honestly kind of confused here. But it is cool how Clark is still trying to be a good person throughout this entire time of trying to survive from these people. But it's also cool seeing how he is trying so hard not to be a conqueror or like a warrior. He's still trying to be a kind person. As he gets stuck with this one alien, he still tries to help him. Now, if you notice what he looks like, he looks green, right? And that may seem like nothing at the moment, right? It's just an alien that's colored green and you wouldn't think about it. But when I saw his chest, it had a specific type of logo that I will talk about a little bit later because it's actually kind of important. But it is still really cool seeing Clark's kindness even to this one person. Even if none of this is real, he still wants to be a generous person and saves him, even though the alien was trying to kill him. And I do like that this entire episode is showing Clark's morality, even in the hardest circumstances. But, you know, they can't just survive peacefully. There has to be some dangers, as this one beast tries to kill them both. And it looks like this beast is the same type of creature that Bizarro has, which I claim to be the Bizarro crypto of this universe. But something that's really interesting is that even though this is a simulation, this is supposed to like actually kill him. Like he would have actually died if he got shot, bit, or things like that. But he's holding his own really well. Well, kind of. But then he uses that electricity to overpower the beast. Which again, what is the difference between the red and blue lightning? I am very confused. Because the red one does give Clark a boost, but it doesn't seem like he wants that because it just makes him completely angry because he has to shake it off. But then after that, he still tries to help out this guy, even though he tried to kill him, which again, love that for Superman. Then we go back to Earth as we see Jonathan sulking up in the moon, and that Kara actually comes in to help him out, which is honestly very sweet. And I like that Kara took the lessons from teaching the old John and bringing it in to this John with a kind of a different mentality, more of a warrior one, more of a military one, but not in a toxic way, in a more positive way, because they have powers. They don't have to go as hard, if that makes sense. I am glad that this does get to John as they come back to Earth and they prepare for the fight to Eradicator. And I want to call him Doomsday, but the problem is Amanda Waller calls her Task Force Doomsday, which, yeah, I was kind of right. This is basically their version of Doomsday. Kind of. But I am kind of weirded out because they say that the Eradicator is coming back to his regular time. So was there like no reason for the time travel part? Like at the end, it kind of reveals it, but it still doesn't make a lot of sense because nothing changes to their timeline, if that makes sense. Like the Super Family is still preparing for him to come back. I thought if he had a device to go back in time, he would have done something to change it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe they're not thinking hard enough. Because again, the Super Family is finding time to basically take him out. They even create a Buster Sword for this version of John, which then makes me think about they were gaslighting us with the intro because we thought we were going to have the main John have the Buster Sword. But no, it's this version of John. So that's interesting. Or this is just an if for the last episode. They may bring in both versions of John. Do I think they may do that? I don't know. They have really made me confused on what they're going to do and what they're going to name certain people. So I don't know. But you know how I said they made a Buster Sword for John? They brought in John Henry again to make the Buster Sword. So that was insane to finally get all the people from the reign of Superman, you know, getting the Eradicator, Cyborg Superman, Superboy, 2 versions actually. So that's interesting. Now, if they want me to praise his entire show completely, they better put John back in the armor, but not in the bulky mess he had in the last season. I want him to have a more slimmer down suit. It doesn't have to be nanotech or anything like that. It just has to be like an armored suit with the Superman logo, with a helmet, and a cape. Maybe I'm just the only person who likes those things because it looks like whenever they try to make Steel his own thing, they neglect this beautiful red cape and his logo. Sometimes the helmet stays on and off. I prefer it when it's on because I just think it works. And it's one of the few characters where one solid color contrasting with a bright color really works in this case because he is all gray and then a bright cape. I feel like that works. And I would love if they brought him back, but it looks like he is just here to make the sword. But what do you think? Do you want him to be here in the last episode? And something I was also not expecting is to have Lex Luthor back. But it makes sense. He's the one that caused the problem, so they have him come back to solve the problem. So that's good. And it looks like he's just gone completely bold now. He just accepted it. And I still don't understand the head injury he had. The only thing I think about is that he got that head injury trying to put some of his brain into the Eradicator. But why would he need to shave completely and then keep it? Because it doesn't look like he's going to have that back. He's just completely shiny baldness here. But it was kind of funny seeing how, even though he's trying to quote-unquote help, he is obviously also trying to get out of it because this is Lex Luthor. He is smart, he can be brave, but if he does not want to do something, he will try to dip. And that's always kind of funny. Something that was interesting, though, is the person that made him realize the aliens aren't his enemy was Jimmy Olsen, which was really interesting. And I feel like in most iterations, this would have, like, not gone in Lex's head at all. But I feel like the reason why this version of him actually listened to him is because Jimmy is unintentionally the reason why Lex was able to create LexCorp. Because when Lex was working for Ivo in the first season, he lost it all because, you know, Ivo went crazy. And in the second season, Lex was trying to get back into the business, couldn't figure out, and Jimmy was the one that had to give him a motivational speech to basically get him back up. So they kind of have an interesting frenemy type behavior because Jimmy doesn't like him, but Lex has this interesting respect for him, and he seemed to actually listen to Jimmy when Jimmy was telling him that the aliens aren't the problem, it's the fact that he keeps making solutions for something that does not need to happen. Because he's the one that pointed out that he created the monster, he released it, he created this problem, and even though Lex was trying to say that it was the aliens, Jimmy was saying, no, they were trying to help. Which, yeah, So it looks like Lex is going to help for the time being. Do I think he's going to stay doing good? Honestly, I don't think so if they're going to go with a regular Lex. It'd be weird seeing Lex being a hero, but it looks like he's helping for right now. And so now they're all ready for the Eradicator to come back. So there's a big army here with a bunch of Superman's old enemies again. They're back to help again. I am glad that everyone is here as well. And the Eradicator comes out of a portal from his time-traveling adventures, and then we see this skinny Twinkie boy. Excuse me, what? This is the Eradicator? He looks more like his actual comic interpretation, you know, being more slimmed down with the hair and the facial structure he has. Which, do you think they're going to explain that? But before he's able to do anything, John comes in and slices him in half, doing another Future Trunks thing. They are really going with the anime inspirations here, especially Dragon Ball ones. Which, hey, I'm not complaining in this case. This place was actually kind of funny. But it looks like it didn't really do anything, as it actually split him in two. So there's the other Doomsday parallels with how his powers work. And he reconstitutes with this really boring outfit. This is the outfit he did come out of the portal with, but like, it doesn't have any sauce. There is nothing to it. And then this other being out of the other slice reconstitute into what he more looked like before he went to the portal. So are they just going to explain that he got all his abilities through the time travel shenanigans? Or do you think they're not going to explain it at all? Because this is kind of interesting. But also another bad thing from John. John, why can't you just like not be so headstrong? And I feel like this is a bad headstrong, not a good kind, because you just made your job even worse. But do you think they're going to give that big monster, that other version of Eradicator, the name Doomsday or Bizarro? Because they have changed names so often. Again, this guy is named the Eradicator when we had Eradicator in the second season, and it was Kara. So they could do anything at this point. But before anything happens there, we go right back to Clark trying to survive with the alien, and he's finally able to take it back to his home. And Clark is just trying to explain that he is not a threat. He was just there to help. And it looks like the red electricity he has around him is corrupting him a little bit. So again, what is that? But it is cool that he is refusing it as much as possible. And especially when he figures out that these people are not bad. They're just refugees, that they are just there to find shelter, to find homes, as he sees, you know, a mother and a child. And I like that he refuses with so much of his heart to not be a conqueror, and that is not what strength is. I love that anytime Clark disputes toxic masculinity. And I love that his kindness is rewarded in this case, as the alien vouches for him. But someone who's not happy at Clark's kindness is Brainiac, as he comes back and tries to push Clark to kill these people. But obviously Clark refuses. And Brainiac says he failed, even though Clark says, no, this is wrong. And we find out that the aliens that Clark was trying to not kill were the Brainiacs. This is honestly a really cool twist in this episode, because like I said in the beginning of my video, I said that these aliens reminded me of something with the green skin and the logo they had. That's because, at least in the comics, this is the alien species that Brainiac was before they retconned or changed it that he was a robot. But in this one, they separate them and then combine them back together, and that these robots, the Superman robots, are Brainiac, and the Brainiacs used to be people that now just serve Kryptonians, which is an incredibly interesting twist that I actually like. Now, see, these are the kind of changes and twists that I really like, when they keep the heart of a character, but change it in a way where it's really satisfying. Because this is honestly very sad, because they basically enslave these people in robots to serve them. So that makes me wonder, will these Brainiac robots finally be able to be free? The Superman has to destroy them. Will this Superman even have robots to help him out in anything? Because I can go either way. I like the robots, but I don't think Superman always needs them. Especially not this one. This one seems more of a homey Superman, but like the Fortress Cell dude is not something he really needs. But besides that, it doesn't really look like Clark helping them in this simulation really did anything to these Brainiacs, as they're still trying to kill Clark, because they believe everything they do now is for nothing if they're still not seen as disposable, if that makes sense, which is, again, is incredibly sad. And this would be the end of Superman if it wasn't for Bizarro finally getting out of his mind control. I am so glad that he has become such a big character in the show. He's honestly one of my favorites in this season. But what are they going to call him? Because of the switch up with names, I don't even know. I want him to be the Connor Kent of this universe instead of the Bizarro, because then it would seem like he's more part of the Superman family. But before we figure out if he's able to actually save Clark, the episode ends. But whoa, that was an intense episode. But hey, that was My Adventure Superman Season 3, Episode 9. Was this my favorite episodes? No, but it's honestly very close because it had so much stuff that I did like, getting the super family back together, enjoying each other, having Jimmy and Kara actually kind of get better. I'm not like as happy as I would normally because it took way too long, but I am glad that they're finally there. And I am excited to see what happens with these Brainiac, Superman robot type beings, and if Clark will finally be able to reprogram them after Bizarro or Connor saves him. These are the type of questions I get watching this show. But if you want to see my video on the previous episode, it should be up on the screen right now. But if there's nothing else, this has been Dunamite. I hope everyone stays sturdy, and I hope to see everyone in the next video. Bye!